like that. Here we go. Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. Last week's live Q&A, how do I ignore social media when refilling my cup? Today, for episode number 823, do you have the right people in your corner? Why are we doing this episode, sir?
Well, early in the hyperconscious days, throwback, we used to talk often about you are the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's been a very long time since we've talked about that topic, and we've evolved in our thinking quite a bit since then. But that topic is still one of the most powerful things in the world. The misbelief that I used to have was basically that I could succeed even if I was around people that weren't really focused on success. I no longer believe that. And now that I have 20 clients and I talk to all of them about how to become more successful, one of the main things that we talk about is like your influences. Who are the people that you're around? You're not going to have a next level life unless you spend time with next level people. I've seen no exception to this rule. And there's been Harvard studies and much research done on this where like a large percentage of your success is predicated on what they refer to as your reference group. Your reference group are the people that have influence over you. If 4 of your 5 friends are in ridiculously good shape, chances are you're in really good shape, or at least your trajectory is upward in fitness. And so whether it's fitness or finance, health or wealth or love or an intimate relationship, I think that the social aspect of our nature needs to be leveraged more if we want to have a successful life. Even something as simple as the NLU team. Everyone on the NLU team tracks their habits every single day. If you're not on the NLU team, you probably don't track your habits every single day. But yet every single one of my clients do track their habits every single day. So, and they can all see each other's numbers. And everyone's more motivated and more accountable. It is just, that's what group coaching is designed around. And it's really important to understand that.
In preparation for these episodes, we write down the stories that we want to tell. So we have an understanding of, okay, where do we want to go? What I put down was 22-year-old Kev. When I was 22, and Alan, I'm sure it's probably similar for you. When I was 22, I had a bunch of people in my life who they were focused on going to the bar. I remember we used to go to Toby Keith's. Toby Keith's, I love this bar. It was a place down by Gillette Stadium in Massachusetts where it was just country music and lots of beer. And that's what we would do on the weekends. And we used to go to bars in Worcester, and we used to get they'd just bring us in, and we knew the bartender, we knew all the bouncers. We got special treatment because we went there so often. Now, that was 10 years ago. What's the biggest difference between 22-year-old Kev and 32-year-old Kev? The people I surround myself with. It's the amazing team members we have. It's the clients, but it's the mentors, and it's the people in our growth bucket. If you think about that right now, how have your relationships changed in the last 10 years? If they haven't, that's a pretty good indication that maybe you haven't changed as much as you want, or maybe you're holding on to people from the past that you shouldn't. I think if you put it into terms of the law of attraction, when I started doing fitness, I attracted people into my life who were interested in fitness. When I started podcasting, I attracted people into my life who enjoyed podcasting, Alan being one of them. Mark Metry and Eddie P and Dave and Evan and Anthony Trucks and all these people, the reason they are in our lives is because of who we are as human beings and what we do. My favorite quote, the one I say on every podcast I'm invited on, are the people in your life the best from your past or the best for your future? If your relationships are based on nostalgia and not current and future value, you're probably going to regret that in the future, honestly. And I've been there and I understand it's difficult, but at the end of the day, if you do not have the right people in your corner, you're not going to go where you want to go.
I think a good exercise for this, and this is something that I've been trying to contemplate a lot, is reflect back and look at your influences. Look at people that have had an impact on your life and ask yourself, where would you be or what would you be had you not met that person? So a good example of that would be Kev. So if I had never met Kevin, what would be different? And my contemplation of that shows me how much value Kevin has added and how much of a positive influence he's been on my life. and vice versa. But you have to do that exercise of contemplation if you really want to understand the level of impact that these people are having on you. Now, here's another thing. Think of an influence that your intuition tells you probably hasn't been the best influence. Now ask yourself, where would you be if that person was not in your life? Okay? Maybe it was someone who convinced you to drink more, or someone who convinced you to do drugs, or someone who was not as virtuous, or maybe not hardworking. You have to contemplate the alternative if you want to understand the true value of the path you're on and the people in it. That sounded really profound. That was good. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. But seriously, you have to contemplate the alternative. And I'm on this big contemplation kick because I recently realized that some people, in my opinion, don't spend enough time in contemplation. When I was a young kid, everyone would always say, you think too much, you think too much. And I understand why they say that, because I'm constantly contemplating alternatives. I'm always contemplating, like, what if I never met Amy? What if I never met Kevin? What if I never met Emilia? What if I never met Bianca? What if I never... I'm always doing that. And I realize that that's not necessarily normal. And so now that I understand that, I think that contemplation is at the root of all progress. And so what we want you to do on this episode in particular is contemplate your influences. I think we should go through the buckets as well. But first, I want to tell a quick story. So I have a client who I just want to tell you, I'm going to anonymously take you through this person's story from my perspective so that you can understand the impact of small positive influences over time. All right, so it's 2 years ago. Emilia and I are brand new in our relationship, and she brings me to a dinner at her work. At the time, she was a real estate agent, and I met this incredible person and her boyfriend there. Her boyfriend loved the book, The Compound Effect, so we geeked out at the dinner table about that, and we started talking about self-improvement and personal development. Fast forward, this person follows me on Instagram and Facebook, and we somewhat keep in touch. Eventually, she starts listening to the podcast. I think she reached out saying, I love this episode or that episode a couple times here and there. Fast forward, years later, probably a year and a half later, actually. We're doing group coaching, and she ends up signing up. I think I messaged her, or maybe you did, I'm not sure, but she joined group coaching. I believe she was in Gratitude with Attitude. That's our second group. She does group coaching. She starts tracking her habits. She starts to really understand the power of these other influences in her life. Her and the rest of the group are all tracking their habits every single day, which brings sharp awareness to what you're doing and what you're not doing, by the way. If you want to know how productive you are, tracking your habits will show you the truth of what's actually being executed versus the delusions we all live in our own mind. So that raises her awareness. There's 6 sessions. It's bi-weekly. We're tracking. We're sending next level progress reports. Kevin and I are hammering new awarenesses in these sessions. These are private, and they're pretty hardcore. And so this person is like raising their awareness. Fast forward, at the end of group coaching, we offer a free call. This person ends up being a client. But after the free call, there was a long lag time between her being a client and then eventually actually signing up. Because we talked about it, and she's like, well, let me think about it. Eventually, 2, 3, 4 months later, she's like, yeah, let's do it. I think I sent another message. I've been coaching her now for, I want to say 4 or 5 months. Maybe more, I'm not 100% sure. But now she left her job. She's at a new company now. Her dreams have gotten way bigger. She's tracking her habits every single day. She is at this new, very progressive real estate company called EXP. And she's got all these big goals and dreams. Here she is, 2 years from the beginning of that story. And I told her recently on our last call, the future is so bright and open to you. And one more thing I want to say, shout out to her. She also signed up for a real estate mastermind that was very expensive. And she reached out. She said, hey, do you think I should sign up to this mastermind? I did some research on the guy. The guy's named Steve. And I was like, honestly, yeah, that's a lot of money. It was $3,000. But you should. This guy sounds legit. And honestly, you got to get around people that are like-minded, and you got to get around people who are all chasing similar aspirations, who all want to get better. And now she's on absolute fire. And her whole future is, in my opinion, 100 times brighter 100 times more wealthy, 100 times more healthy, 100 times better in her intimate relationship than it would have been had she never met Emilia. Remember, she met Emilia, then she eventually met me. I met her and her boyfriend. Then she eventually came into the Next Level community. And I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face because I think this community can change lives. The Next Level community, I've witnessed it. This community and this culture and this podcast and this team and this group coaching and this one-on-one coaching, this community, this bubble, I call it the Next Level bubble, it will change your effing life to such a drastic extent that when you do contemplate, what if I had never listened to that podcast 2, 3, 4 years ago, it will be wild how different your life will be. That's like if I had never read The Compound Effect, right? That one book has changed my life so much. That's one influence in my life. Here we're talking about surround yourself with great people. One person in your life can change everything, and you should never underestimate that.
Well, and Alan, you've heard me say this too, whether it's relationship coaches or psychotherapists or people we've had on the show. How do you know if your normal is normal? When you start spending time around other people, you tend to adopt their normal. And our normal is self-improvement every single day. That's our normal. That's what we talk about. And if you're in Next Level Nation, if you listen to this show, if you're a client, whatever it may be, it's probably the same for you. And we've gotten this feedback. For the first time in my life, I'm actually able to be myself. I'm able to dream. I'm able to talk about my future. I'm able to think audaciously. I'm able to have abundance. That's really what the community, any community, it doesn't have to be ours, but that's what a community can provide to you. It's an ability and opportunity to be yourself fully and not worry about what other people think. And that's just a rare thing, and I think people long for that. And if you grew up in any environment where your family didn't support you or your friends didn't support you or your town, your city, your state, whatever it may be, like you're probably longing for that. Just make sure that you're not shrinking to a smaller version of yourself to stay fitting in the rooms that you don't belong in. There's a lot of you out there right now who are listening to this, who are watching this, who just genuinely do not belong playing small. You don't belong in the old rooms that you're going back to. I know it's scary to take that leap, but what's even scarier is playing small for the rest of your life when you don't have to. Nobody has to, right? And it's up to you to choose not to. So a little Motivation Monday tied into today's Friday episode.
Appreciate that. I think we should talk about the 5 buckets for the people who have not heard that before, because I think Kevin and I are guilty of something, and our director of marketing, Crystal, basically said, you guys have to stop doing this. When you say Jeffing, you have to actually explain the story because people don't know, and now I should probably tell that story quickly. But if you don't know what Jeffing means, or you don't know what the 5 buckets are, or you don't know what the Drive to 5 is, because you're a new listener of this show or viewer, we should probably explain those things so they actually have context. So the 5 buckets that Kevin mentioned earlier, if you're out there and you're wondering, like, what are those? Here goes. If you're not wondering, but you want a refresher, here goes. Okay, so basically there's a little story behind it. We were at Brendan Burchard's event, High Performance Academy, in 2018. We're on the airplane, and we're talking about the 3 buckets, which is what Brendan Burchard came up with. I believe it was the nostalgia bucket. No, maintenance bucket, growth bucket, and nostalgia bucket. There was only 3. Yeah, because we made the wisdom one.
Oh, and mentee.
And the mentee bucket. Yeah. Okay, so there's 3 buckets. Kevin and I are talking on the airplane. He's like, dude, they're missing one. What about the mentee bucket? What about the people that you coach, that you mentor, that you help, that you pour into? I was like, great idea, good call. Then we're interviewing. This is actually prior to the plane ride, so I'm messing up the story a little bit. I'm Quentin Tarantinoing this thing. So we're at Steve Ryder's house overlooking Scottsdale, Arizona, and we told him about the buckets, and he said, you're missing one. You're missing the wisdom bucket. The wisdom bucket is people 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you. So now we have this concept called the Next Level 5 buckets, and here they are. The first one, nostalgia. Nostalgia is your friends from high school, your friends from middle school, the friends you grew up with, your neighbors. These are people that you grew up with, and or you have long relationships based on the past. Okay? you've got the maintenance bucket. The maintenance bucket is like usually college or corporate, where it's like you're friends, but you don't have a ton of similar core aspirations, core values, and core beliefs. These are the people that, like, when you go to a wedding, you end up seeing, even though you haven't seen them in a long time.
It can be family too. Like,
yeah.
if you only see people on Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthday, like, it can be that too.
Which, exactly.
Yeah.
And maintenance bucket, the best way to describe it is it's like you love these people and you have love for them, but you keep in touch via text or phone or email or Facebook or whatever, but you don't spend quality time with them consistently on a week-to-week basis. Third bucket is the mentee bucket. The mentee bucket is people that you coach or mentor or pour into consistently. So my 20 clients would be in my mentee bucket, the NLU team, things like that. Next, you have your growth bucket. Your growth bucket are your peers. These are your best friends and close family members. These are the people that you vibe with, that their level of consciousness is at your level of consciousness, and you pitch and you catch, and you're both growing and elevating together. Then you've got the wisdom bucket. The wisdom bucket, for example, would be like if I were to be able to interview Bill Gates about business. He's 10, 20, 30, 40, in this case 50 years ahead of me. So 30 years ahead of me, actually, because I'm older than that. But the point is these are people that are way, way, way ahead of you. And remember, the buckets shift based on the discipline. So, for example, Bill Gates in business definitely would be in my wisdom bucket. In fitness, there's no question he would be my mentee bucket. And so that's kind of the 5 buckets. And it's important to understand, again, this is about how to surround yourself with the right people, the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. You have to understand the law of attraction. You have to understand these buckets. You have to understand saying no to the maintenance and nostalgia buckets so that you can fill. Think about the 5 buckets, and there's an arrow from left to right. Okay? The more you fill the growth and wisdom bucket, the more progress you're going to make. The more you're going to accelerate in your growth. Yep. Whereas if you're spending a lot of time in the nostalgia and maintenance bucket, your progress will absolutely slow down. Unlike the example I gave with my client, who that's really what it was. She started filling her mentee, her mentor, and her growth bucket like so much. And as a matter of fact, we talked recently. That's the one main change. That's probably why I brought it up. The one main change. She told me this because I said, "You're more fulfilled. You're crushing it. Awesome. What do you attest to that?" She's like, "Honestly, I just stopped. I started saying no to my old friends. It was that simple." I know this sounds bad, but it's true. If you want to get to the next level, start saying no to the old friends, and you'll be shocked at what will come into your life. It's hardcore and it's challenging, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It absolutely sucks. It sucked for me too. But like, you have to do it. You absolutely have to do it.
That's one of the reasons that I've had the growth I have over 5 years. It's because we think of it like anchors and engines. Anybody who's not helping to propel you towards your goals is an anchor. They're genuinely holding you back, where somebody who's pouring gasoline on your fire of ambition is an engine. I've just been surrounded by engines. And if the person in my life isn't an engine, I reallocate the amount of time I spend with them. That's just the way it is, because you're not going to want to spend time with me anyway. It's not going to be that enjoyable if you're not into growth. And I'm talking about, the habits and what books I'm reading and podcasting and speaking. It's not the same Kevin that I used to be, right? That's just not really who I am anymore. So if you're listening to this, I think we have a PDF for the 5 buckets. Yeah. We have one. We have a sheet.
Yep.
So maybe we can link that in the show notes. Print it out, go through it, and really think of, okay, I have 10 people that are really close to me. You can do this with family too. I understand it's painful, but it's very important. I have 10 people that are the closest to me. Where do they rank here? Is this person a maintenance person? I only talk to them when I'm like super lonely and I haven't talked to them in months or weeks, and I send them a message just seeing how they're doing. Is it a nostalgia person? Somebody I see very, 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 very rarely, like once a year. Is this a mentee? Is this somebody I'm checking in on? Is this somebody in the growth bucket? Somebody that I really value their opinion and they constantly push me and they help me get better? Or is this somebody in the wisdom bucket? Somebody that is literally living my dreams every single day? And like Alan said, think of it like a boat. When you're taking on water, you have to start throwing water overboard. to make sure you don't sink. It's like that with your relationships too. You have to make room for people who are going to elevate you. And you can read all the books in the world. You can do all the habits in the world. You can do all those things. But at the end of the day, this is one of the most important drivers for people, is your community. You are the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You just are. It just is that way. And if you don't have the results that you want in your life, I would check in with your reference group, because that's a pretty good idea of why you don't.
Last thing we'll say before we go, I was on the phone with an NLU team member yesterday morning. And I want everyone out there to know that this is really hard and really, really challenging. Because she was saying, Alan, I feel so lonely because I feel like all of you on the NLU team are so far ahead of me, so far above me, was the verbiage that she used. But yet I try to go and spend time with all my old friends, and it's like I know I don't fit in there anymore. She's in what we refer to as lonely land, okay? When you leave the old person's, places, things, and ideas and embark on this new journey, just expect it to be lonely for a little bit, because this person on the NLU team, she's the newest to the team, and she's basically saying, I'm not like you guys yet, but I'm on my way, but I'm definitely not like my old reference group. And so it feels lonely. It's like, well, I don't fit in back there. And by the way, she tried going back, and she's like, crap, I don't fit in here, so I guess I have to keep embarking on this journey. But yet she's not fully fitting in with us yet either, because she's brand new. And I think she fits in, but she doesn't think she does. So my point is that if you're brand new to tracking habits, or you're brand new to being next level, or you're brand new to lifting weights, or you're brand new to, just expect it to be lonely for a time. Because to go back to the boat analogy, when you take the water out of the boat and throw it overboard, it takes a little bit of time to refill. And so in this case, that's a bad analogy because the boat's sinking. But lonely land is the chasm between saying no to the old person's, places, things, and ideas, and then making room and growth for the new person's, places, things, and ideas. And a simple analogy for this is like, if I didn't say no to other women, I would never have met Emilia. I had to say no for quite some time prior to attracting something that is aligned. And so just understand lonely land is real, and this is the hardest thing in the world. In my opinion, when it comes to growth, there's nothing more challenging than this.
January 4th is a great opportunity. If you're listening to this and you're saying, you know what, I really could use more growth-minded individuals, more positivity, more aspiration, more ambition. Our 5th round of group coaching starts on January 4th. Make sure you're in it. It's Alan and I, bi-weekly. We're talking about things that matter with people who value that. There is no goal too big, genuinely. We're going to push you to be the best versions of yourself, and you will belong. If you go through your life feeling like you don't belong because you want different, then you're going to fit in just fine with group coaching. We've had a lot of amazing people, and I know we're going to have a lot of amazing people in this group. Also, all the stuff you need to know is in the show notes where you can apply, and we're excited to have you all there.
Ambitious Army was Group 1. Gratitude with Attitude was Group 2. Pursuit of Excellence was Group 4, and Group 3 was Tribe of Abundance. You get to pick your own team name. It's awesome. It becomes a thing. 90 days, achieve more than you ever have. Please join us. Bi-weekly, you get progress reports, peak performance tracking. You are good enough. Come and prove it to yourself. Do something different in 2022. Seriously. 2022 can be the best year of your life, but not unless you do something different and get around next level people. This is the cheat code. We just gave you the cheat code of getting around next level people is the way to become next level. This is the way you can do it.
Speaking of cheat codes, tomorrow for episode number 824, one easy way to grow your business for Strategy Saturday. I'm very excited for that episode. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for all of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Talk soon.